I want to welcome everyone to the webinar. My name is Kari Banta. I'm the Section 5310 Program Manager here at TxDOT, and I just want to give you a quick overview of the program, how to access the application, and give you a pointer for some other places where you can get information. So this slide and the next slide are the most important things. So if you only take away two things from this entire presentation, it should be these two. So here's your essential information. The call for applications is open. They're due March 13th, 2019 by 5 p.m. Central Standard Time. So for the folks in Mountain Time in El Paso, that's 4 p.m. your time. And this is for the FY 2020 and 2021 cycle. So it's for 2 years. Projects will be funded from September 1st, 2019 through August 31st, 2021. In the past, the contract terms would go out to December 31st. Now we're going to keep that on a 12-month contract. So the first year PGA is from September 2019 to August 2020. And then the second year PGA picks up right after that on September 1st, 2020 through August 31st, 2021. The second year of funding will be determined before the second year PGA, and it will be based on the amount of funding that was requested and the approved application's multi-year worksheet, and we'll get into that in a minute. The demonstrated project costs based on RFRs on the first year of funding, and then the estimated remaining balance on the FY 2020 PGA. So the second most important slide, talking about your application materials. So you can find the instructions, the notes from the 18 public involvement meetings that we held across the state, a copy of this, and other materials at the public transportation website. You can use that link. You can also go to the TxDOT.gov website.
Welcome to WebEx.
And search for public
your access code or meeting number followed by pound.
Hi, we've got someone on the line who isn't muted. If everyone wouldn't mind checking if you all muted yourselves. Thanks. So, as I said, the recording of this webinar will be posted. There is an email address to send questions by February 15th.
ID number followed by pound.
PTN_program MGMT at TxDOT.gov. And we'll be posting those answers to the website by February 22nd. That'll be available at that link that's on the page. So just a quick overview of our funding priorities and the timeline. Our general funding priorities are to support existing service, so looking along the lines of sustainability, increasing the system efficiency of existing service, so more riders, and improving access to service. The general timeline is going to be in April, we'll complete the scoring. May, the funding decisions will be made. We anticipate a June minute order, and the PGAs will be distributed in August. So you'll get started by going to the eGrants website. If your agency isn't set up already, you can contact the eGrants help desk. Email shown, ptn-eGrantsHelp@txdot.gov, or you can call at 512-486-5957. So once you've logged in to start the application, it'll be listed under the available opportunities. So when you open up the opportunities, you'll see the section 5310, and you'll click Apply Now. Now that's the only time that you'll be clicking on that. After you do that, to get back to your application, you're going to go to the Application/PGA tab at the top of the window. And then if you click Search, it'll bring up all of your agency's grants. And then you can search by application PGA types to bring up the specific grant. So in this case, you'd be looking at the Section 5310 for the 2019 cycle. So filling out the forms, once you've started, you'll go to the Application PGA menu and click View Forms. If you need additional help on eGrants issues, there's a user manual available, and you can download it from within eGrants at the training materials link. That'll take you through how to use the program. I'm not going to get into that here because we've got enough going on just with the 5310 application, but that'll get you started. All right. So when you've clicked to look at the forms, this is what the screen will look like. That top number, the 5310-2019, that's the document number, and if you click back to that, it'll take you to the main application PGA menu. The different forms here, the application information and the general information are required. You'll need to go into each of the other three that are project specific. Even if it's just to say no, that you're not including mobility management or vehicles or those kinds of things in your project, you still have to answer no. If you answer yes, obviously there are a lot more questions. And then the obligation certification and the budget and milestones are required. So as you're going through the questions, they'll change based on your responses. If there's a question where your answer indicates that you'd need more information, so for this example, does the project increase the service times or service area? If you say yes, then we'd like to know more about the increases. So the page will change dynamically as you're responding to the questions. We've got some new questions on here. It's information that we need to collect for the FTA to report to them every year. So we're going to be looking for annual trip counts, split out by the ones operated by your agency and the ones that are purchased by your agency from other providers. So someone else is driving the vehicles, basically. And then we want to know about any service increases and to get details on plans for procurement. So the application instructions are really cool, and you probably don't hear that a lot, but they've got a lot more in there besides filling out the form. There's information on recipient and project eligibility, the program requirements, which I encourage you all to read, especially if you haven't received a grant from TxDOT before. And for the part of it that goes through the application, for each of the questions, it's got a field to fill in. There's some text in blue, and that'll guide you through making a more complete answer to the question. So you still have to answer the question, what it's asking, but the blue text includes some prompts, and by following those, you have the potential to score a little better. So that's the help that we can give everyone writing the application. So the obligation certification, that used to be something that you uploaded, it's now its own page. So a person who has signature authority with your agency will have to be the one who completes it. Okay, the budget and milestones page, this is a big one. Yeah. We'll take it step by step here. When you're looking in eGrants, it's a great big wide thing, and you'll have to scroll all the way to the right to get to the end of it. So I've kind of chopped it up here so we can see it on one screen. So number one, it asks about indirect costs. They're not eligible in 5310, so you can answer that one no. And then number two, there's a place to upload the MultiYear Worksheet, and I'll get to that in a minute. And then I wanted to point out, as you're filling out the award amounts and match amounts, some folks have put in the amount that they're getting in other TxDOT grants under state match, and that's specifically for the rural and urban state program funds. So funds that actually just come from TxDOT, not that are funneled through TxDOT from the FTA. So just to be clear on that. And then we'll talk about the milestones here, but that's how they're laid out on the budget and milestones page. So milestones, very important. So the two fields with the red boxes, the estimated contract award and the estimated contract complete, those are required for every line item. The first one, the estimated RFP IFB, that's only if you're doing a procurement. So when you'd be getting that started. And that should be within 90 days of the PGA execution. So you would estimate that. And then the field's talking about vehicle dates. Those are only going to be if you're getting vehicles. So your estimated contract award dates, if there's a procurement, it's going to be when the project is awarded. If there isn't a procurement, it's going to be when the project starts, which may or may not be on the day that the PGA is executed. So we'll need to know that date. And the contract complete date is either going to be when the project is over, if it's before the August 31st, or the expiration date of the PGA. And you'll be filling out the second year milestones. Those will go into the second year PGA. All right, so that multi-year worksheet I've been talking about. There's the link to download it. That's the same link with all of the information. It's all located in one spot. So this is just a quick look at it, kind of information we'll need you to fill in, giving the short description with the ALI code, if it's urban or rural, what district that particular line is for, your year one, year two amounts. It'll give a subtotal for you, and then you can add notes. And it'll sum it up by district name and then the urban and rural totals right there. So you'll need to attach that to your budget and milestones form. If we don't get this, when it comes to looking at funding for the second year, it'll be relying more on what funds are available, because we won't be able to program out to schedule out in advance what funds are required. So calculating your project budget request, we don't have the latest year's apportionment values from the FTA. We don't normally have them by this time. We usually get them in about a month or two. Unfortunately, this year with the shutdown, we don't know how long things have been delayed. So use the 18 values as an estimate. They're usually within 1 or 2% of what we end up getting from year to year. So observe the capital and other funding amounts required. Those are in separate columns. And base your request on the actual need that's supportable with documentation. And also use current estimates of capital item costs to avoid shortfalls. We see this sometimes with vehicles. People will use an estimate for a vehicle that's a little short of what it actually costs now. Make sure those are updated so that there aren't any issues that require amendments later. So in addition to the apportionment, there's also some residual funding, funds unspent from previous years of grants. And those are available for amounts that exceed the district allocation. We don't know the funding balance until after the application deadline. So funding that's beyond the district allocation, it depends on the merits of the project compared to the other people requesting funding statewide, basically. So again, this is going to get to you basing the request on the actual need that's supportable with the documentation. In addition, with the apportionment values, if the full amount for the small urban in your district isn't going to be used for small urban, that can shift over to the rural. So here's a quick look. I'm not expecting you to record or make a note of this right now. I just have this here for reference. This is also in the application instructions, but here are the FY 2018 numbers that we'd like you to use for reference. And then some additional resources for when you're putting together the grants, when you're figuring out your projects, ways that you can complete the projects or information that you'll need. The National RTAP site has everything you can imagine. And if it's not there, you can contact them and they'll give you the information. It's designed for rural transit providers. So if you're in a small urban area, the information will still apply and you can access it on the site, but they're not able to respond to your direct questions. I encourage you to check it out. They're fantastic. And just a couple of things that they have available. They've got different topic guides, a way to build websites. There's actually a procurement pro They're releasing a new version of that. You put in your information and it spits out the documentation that you need for your procurement. It's almost magic. And then they have an how to find almost anything toolkit. So they're a great, great source of information. So that's all I've got here. I'd like to open it up for questions at this point. Do we have any questions? And remember to unmute yourselves before you ask. All right, I had a question come in over the chat. Examples of documentation to support actual need. That could be based on previous RFRs, past expenses. So, for example, if you purchase service, the amount of trips that you've been giving on average or a sampling by month, if there is a growth trend that you can show over multiple months, that would be something to include in your estimate. Trying to think of some other good examples. The capital costs, without doing a procurement, you can get some quick quotes or an idea of what something would cost. You can put that in there. For operations costs, that would be historical data, mainly. You'll upload the documentation of these things. On each page of the application, there is a spot at the bottom where you can upload additional information. So you'll give that a descriptive name, and then you can upload that there, and you can upload as many things as you'd like. Great. Do we have any more questions? Big application. It's been 2 years since anyone's really filled it out. So I'm more than happy to answer the questions. Oh, we've got a question about TDCs. Okay, this is a good one. Let me go back to the budget form so we're all looking at the same thing. So looking at this, capital projects, so basically anything that is not operating is eligible for a TDC match. It's an 80-20 split, so 80% federal, 20% match. That 20% would have to be local funds, or you can request the TDCs. TDCs are transportation development credits. We get them from toll funds. Basically, it's like a coupon for the local match. So if you're requesting TDCs, you're going to put under the award amount, you'll put the full amount of the cost of that line item. And then you won't fill out anything for the match amounts. And then where it says TDCs with a question mark, you'll check that box. Later on, the program manager, in this case me, will go in and set the match ratio, and then it will automatically populate with the number of TDCs that you'll be getting based on that amount. The one thing to consider with TDCs, if you do have some kind of local match available, it is an advantage. TDCs means that the full amount of the grant is coming out of the federal funds, which is great, except that that limits the amount of federal funds that are available. So if there is more local match, then it is possible to stretch out those federal funds a little longer. I'm sorry, there was another question that popped up about TDCs, and I missed it. If you wouldn't mind repeating it. No, you don't have to calculate the TDC amounts yourself. No, we've got that built right into the form. And it's not important for you to know that when you're doing the, when you're filling it out. That's for later on when we're putting the PGA together. And I know it's really nice to have them calculated automatically because I didn't enjoy doing it myself either. So do we have any more questions? We've had some more crop up. They've been great questions, too. All right, so if you don't have any right now, or you need some time for all of this to absorb, or you want a chance to read through the application instructions, which really have a lot of this in there, you can send the questions by February 15th to the email address on this slide, which is ptn_programmgmt@txdot.gov. So by February 15th, we'll get those posted on the website by February 22nd. So you'll still have some time before the March 13th deadline at 5 p.m. So if that's everything, I'm going to wrap this up and let y'all get back in touch with me. And I'm going to open this up. If you have questions about your project that aren't answered in the application instructions, you want to find out if something is eligible, give your PTC a call, your public transportation coordinator. We can arrange a call with me and we can go over your eligibility and figure that out. It's best to talk it out in advance before you submit the project. That way you know how things should be split out and not run the risk of submitting something and not having it be eligible. And that's the extent of the help that we can give you in terms of filling these out, because it's a competitive application. We can't give you an inside line. Great, that's everything. I really appreciate you all joining in. I hope that it helped, and I look forward to reading some good applications. Thank you.